And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Alix Steel, taking you through that closing bell. A global simulcast. It starts right now. We're joined right now by Scarlet Fu here in the TV studio, a waving Carol Massar in her radio cage. Tim Stenovec by her side as we welcome all of our audiences across all of our platforms here on an incredible day. And I say incredible, Carol.
Did he say radio cage?
Did you say radio cage? Kind of went over your head real quick there. Relax, Carol. We're getting there. It's a beautiful cage, but we talk about a gilded cage. We talk about these animal spirits in this market, Carol Massar.
Yes.
A record high for the S&P. It looks like that's going to happen. A record high for the Nasdaq, but more importantly, some individual record highs on names like Meta, like Tesla. Names that really haven't been, and Google for that matter, Alphabet, that really haven't been at the top of the leaderboard for a while.
Yeah, pretty impressive. And I think it's, I don't know, we've been talking a lot about it in our, what did you call it? Radio cage. But just, you know how it gets to a point where the valuations people get, market folks and say, okay, it's time, like broaden out, go to other names. And then all of a sudden these guys come roaring back and investors seem to be buying into them again. So I don't know. I always am very suspicious of when people are like the big tech rally.
Look at just the names at the top of the NASDAQ 100 right now. They're driving it higher. You got Broadcom, you got Tesla, you got NVIDIA, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Netflix. I mean, all above, all up more than 2%.
I'm just looking at what the Magnificent Seven has done so far this month, up 11% for the month. That's compared with the Russell down about 1.5%, and the S&P 500 pretty much going nowhere, up less than 1%.
All right, well, we get the closing bells here in New York, and it is a good day for at least the S&P and the NASDAQ as the clapping starts here. And you take a look at who's ringing the bell. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second here with the Dow Jones Industrial Average sitting this one out, down almost 100 points or 0.2%. The S&P 500 looks like it's going to close right around 6,084, so up roughly 49 points or 0.8%. The NASDAQ above 20,000, higher by about 347 points on the day or 1.8%. The NASDAQ 100 up 1.85% to be precise. And the Russell 2000 participating in today's rally, a gain of about 11 points or 0.5%.
All right, what's interesting is to see these moves up. And if you take a look at the S&P 500, guys, almost an even split in terms of ups and downs, in terms of gainers and decliners. 236 names, Scarlet, to the upside in the S&P 500, 264 to the downside.
All right, let's take a look at the sector performances here, because you'll see some lopsided moves, especially when it comes to those big tech sectors. Communication services, consumer discretionary, each up at least 2%. In the case of communication services, up 3%, and tech as a group up 1.5%. That's largely on Broadcom. On the downside, healthcare losing 1.3%, consumer staples and utilities also down by about 0.5%.
All right, let me get to some of the individual gainers. Got to do Broadcom. This is your top gainer in the S&P 500, top gainer in the NASDAQ 100, up about 6.6%. We know it. We probably all talked about it throughout the day. Apple is developing a server chip designed especially for AI, working with Broadcom on the chip's networking technology. This is from the information, citing a person with direct knowledge of the project.
I'm so confused by this relationship between Apple and Broadcom. I don't know, because first it was like they were breaking up with Broadcom and Broadcom was falling. Then it was like, no, actually they're embracing Broadcom. What's going on?
Qualcomm's the
boyfriend
that is getting tossed.
Well, I know. Well, no, Qualcomm. But I'm talking about Broadcom. The other com.
Yeah, the other com. No, but they also extended a deal that they had for the next few years, too. So it's like they're picking and choosing which one of the chip guys they're going to stay with.
You know this tech community, man, frenemies, right? They work together, they hate each other, they work together.
You're keeping them on their toes, basically, right?
How many comms are there?
If there's money to be made, they figure out how to work together. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so that one's certainly a standout. Alphabet, it was a top gainer yesterday in the major indices. And again, we're seeing it among the biggest gainers, up about 5.5% in today's session, hitting its highest intraday ever, building on yesterday's gain of about 5.6%. That was the biggest one-day gain since April. It has gained about 12% over the past 4 trading days. That, you guys, would represent its biggest 4-day advance since November of 2022. You know, a lot of it is over the excitement over a major development in quantum computing through the use of its Willow quantum chip. I feel like AI has been a lot of what we've talked about the last year and a half, 2 years. I feel like quantum is going to be a lot of what we talk. Tesla had to name that one, hitting its first intraday record record since 2021, again driven by the company's self-driving ambitions under a Trump administration. A lot of optimism over that. Also, we should point out that today we saw Elon Musk topping $400 billion in wealth, first person to ever reach that in net worth. And I also want to point out, did you know that the stock, Tesla's already up about 19-20% this month already after a 40% gain in November. So just kind of blowing it out. And this one is courtesy of Tim. Also for you, Romaine, I know you love those small caps. Candle Therapeutics up 68%.
What?
Triggered. It's a clinical
Candle,
stage.
not candle.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Candle. Well,
He was thinking fragrant candles.
Candle it is, yeah.
Okay.
It was up 216% at one day, triggered a circuit breaker, finished the day with a 68%, clinical stage biopharma company,
What's the market
stage
cap?
study. I know, but you talk small caps all the
I know.
time.
I'm
You
just
talk
teasing.
about how it's so
I know.
important.
It is important.
Anyway,
Had a good year,
Yeah.
right?
late stage study of its
Yeah.
CAN 2409 product candidate.
Yeah.
Key goal in prostate cancer. It's an important one.
Yeah,
So
it is very important. I
Yeah.
didn't mean to make light of it, but
I'll just stay
Good
in my
work
little
there.
cage and,
That's right.
take the abuse. Go home. All right, Tim.
Okay, here we go. Look at that. I got three decliners.
I know. Well, you kept sending me names. You
I
got to do
three
this. You got to do
decliners. I follow
this.
the rules here. Uber down 5.8% today. Uber and Lyft shares both fell following GM's decision to stop funding its robotaxi development over in its cruise unit. Mandeep Singh over at Bloomberg Intelligence, he said at first glance it appears to put the capital onus on Uber to fund the program, even if it is to stay alive, which we're not sure is realistic or desired from an Uber perspective. And it raises the question of whether AV economics can actually work at all. So a lot of questions about autonomous vehicles in the wake of GM pulling the plug on this late yesterday.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Microsoft sees about an $800 million charge in the second quarter because of its stake in GM Cruise.
Oh,
It
look
just
at
came
that.
out with their
Just crossing.
8K.
Yeah.
They have a minority investment in Cruise. They've had that since January of 2021, and they had to sort of write that down now because of it.
Look at that. Sometimes the timing is perfect.
Perfect.
Thanks for the assist, Alex. Do
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. Walgreens Boots Alliance shares fell today by 5.6%. It wasn't the only healthcare/pharmaceutical chain company to close lower today. CVS shares fell 6.2% to close at the lowest, going back to 2013. Walgreens Boots Alliance shares surged yesterday by as much as 28% following that report that Sycamore Partners would acquire the company. Today shares giving back some of those gains. Romaine, I know you got your eye on some earnings crossing.
Yeah, earnings season, of course, never stops. Adobe out with its most recent report here in the fourth quarter, adjusted EPS of about $4.81. That's a beat. The street was looking for $4.67. Revenue up about 11% in the quarter, $5.61 billion. That's also a beat as well. And subscription revenue up about 13%. We should point out product revenue, of course, the business they've kind of been shunning to a certain extent. That was down by about 30%, but that's one of the smaller parts of their business. Their full year 2025 full year forecast, they see adjusted EPS in the range of $20.20 a share to $20.50 a share. That's pretty much right around what the street was looking for. The average estimate was $20.52.
All right, we'll dig into that a little bit further, but we also have earnings crossing from a retailer, Oxford Industries, Lilly Pulitzer, Tommy Bahamas. Yes, thank you, Kate. Thank you, Finley, for giving me that heads up on it. Oxford Industries coming out with net sales for the quarter, fourth quarter net sales of $375 to $395 million. Analysts were looking for $389.2 million. Fourth quarter adjusted EPS, this is the outlook, of $1.18 to $1.38. That is much lower than the anticipated estimate of $1.55. Full year net sales anywhere from $1.5 to $1.52 billion. That is somewhat lower than its previous range of up to $1.54 billion. And for the quarter that did end, it reported a loss of 11 cents that was wider than the anticipated earnings per share gain of 9.3 cents. I'm not sure that we're comparing like with like there. Nevertheless, stock just marginally higher right now.
All right, we're also taking a look at Jay Jill here. The CEO, Claire Spotford, is going to retire in April. We're getting that headline. The third quarter earnings, though, coming in stronger than estimated, coming in about 89 cents a share. Going back to Adobe, guys, real quick, that digital media segment, if you take a look at its net new annualized recurring revenue, seemed to beat estimates, coming in at $578 million. It beat estimates, but that stock is still down just a bit.
Yeah, shares. Go ahead, Romaine.
Well, it was kind of interesting, too, because even when you look at some of the other forecasts they're giving, I'm trying to kind of make sense of why we're seeing the drop in the share price here. It does look like when you talk about a forecast, is not really a forecast for a tremendous amount of growth. I mean, basically the numbers they're giving on the revenue side and on the bottom line are just maybe a tight, just a little bit of a slightly below the average of street estimates. But again, I think it's a representative of that year-over-year growth not being as strong as what investors have gotten used to.
Yeah, I think it's that 2025 year forecast. It sees adjusted earnings per share $20.20 to $20.50. That estimate was for $20.52, so coming up just shy there. And then that first quarter forecast, $4.95 to $5 for EPS. Estimate was for $4.95. So maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, just maybe looking for a little bit more. The CFO also some commentary. We expect an approximate $200 million headwind to fiscal year 2025 revenue as a result of the effect of foreign exchange and a smaller impact of the continued move to subscriptions from perpetual offerings. So again, a little context around that
Perpetual.
report.
You guys saw
like
the
ownership?
Sora. Did you see that OpenAI Sora was released this week?
Question.
The video generation tool?
Yes, we did.
I wonder if there's going to be some questions from analysts about how that competes with Firefly and all the image generation that we're seeing from startups getting on Adobe's turf.
There's so much competition in this space.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess Adobe would say, this is what we have is copyright safe, so if you use it, you won't get in trouble. There's some, it's understanding how it's trained, I think, is becoming a big part of the conversation.
All right, we got to go back to our cage. So really fun. Really appreciated that. This was fun. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Our cross-platform radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We do it across the Bloomberg world. We will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow for the closing bell.